Good morning. You're tuned in to the Pirate News Desk. Today's date is May 6th, 2017. My name is Jocelyn Rogalo, and today I am joined by Jeff Lebo, who has been putting together the NF Hope concert, which will happen on Monday, May 8th at Subculture in New York. And this concert is featuring some of Broadway's biggest rising stars, and it's being held to raise money for the Neurofibromatosis Network. So thank you so much for joining me today, Jeff.
Thanks for having me.
One of your biggest reasons for having this concert is to raise awareness for neurofibromatosis. So can you start by explaining to us what that is?
Sure. Neurofibromatosis, or NF, is a genetic disorder of the nervous system that's characterized by tumors that can grow on any nerve in the body at any time. There's sadly no cure, and there's currently no treatments for it, so awareness is probably the most important part of it, and that's kind of what I'm doing.
And your daughter was diagnosed with NF at 9 months old, correct?
That's correct, yes. She is truly the reason that I do this.
She is absolutely beautiful. I was hearing all about your story. She's just absolutely amazing.
I think so too, but I'm her dad, so I think I'm supposed to.
You had quite the career.
I did. I got a bachelor's in science and zoology from the University of California at Davis.
And then you ended up on Broadway.
And then I ended up in Jersey Boys for 7 years.
There you go. And now
it's the obvious transition.
Absolutely. You know, that's what I normally would recommend for someone to major in if they are going on to Broadway. While you were on Jersey Boys is when you found out that your daughter was diagnosed, and you completely switched tracks. Can you tell us the story about that?
Yeah, when my daughter was born, she actually had a number of what everybody sort of dismisses birthmarks, but it turns out they were one of the precursors to NF and one of the diagnostic symptoms. It just wasn't until about she was 3 months old that a pediatrician recognized them for that, and we ended up at a neurologist. And fast forward a few months later, after a couple of MRIs and discussions with many doctors, and she was officially diagnosed with neurofibromatosis type 1 when she was 9 months old.
There's this beautiful video of her on one of your videos that you guys have created of her playing the piano, and I know that you play the piano as well, so that just must be so heartwarming for you to see your child be growing and learning just like you did and doing something in musical theater in a way that you are so fond of.
She is very theatrical, and beyond piano, she loves to dance, and although she hasn't quite found her ear yet, she loves to sing. She really kind of loves to be on stage, which is wonderful and dangerous and scary all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure part of that is because she's been around the NF Hope concert as well.
It is. You know, she's actually gotten to the point where every year she starts very early in the year telling us what she's going to do in the concert in Las Vegas. And now it's getting to the point where when she offers something, she ends up having to do it. We don't have much choice in the matter.
She's the real person that runs the show.
It's true, and it's okay. She should be.
So can you explain to us what goes down at the NF Hope concert?
The NF Hope concert, well, it started in 2011, and it really started out of a conversation from the day that she got her official diagnosis. And I called up the one of the big national agencies or organizations at the NF network, and ended up on the phone with the executive director for 2 hours. And during that conversation, I said, "Well, gee, you know, I'm a performer. Let me bring together some friends, and we'll raise $1,000." The first year started with that same idea, and although it's maintained that sort of grassroots feel, it has grown significantly. We are now going to be doing our 7th concert in Las Vegas later this year, and we're happy to be doing our first concert in New York. And it's just essentially a variety show. You know, it's bringing together whatever local talent is available, and having them contribute their talents for a great cause.
Yeah, and you've got a great place of talent in New York, and Las Vegas as well. Can you tell us some of the people that are going to be at this Hope concert on the 8th?
Sure. The New York City's inaugural NF Hope concert is going to feature all Broadway talent. You know, these are many people I know, and certainly the world that I'm used to. And so we have Chad Kimball from the Come From Away that recently was nominated, I think, for 7 Tonys, and We have cast members from Beautiful and Jersey Boys. We have a cast member, Mary Callanan from Bandstand, which is also a brand new show, just opened a couple weeks ago. And we have the Doo-Wop Project, which is a group of guys that go around the country singing doo-wop, and they're all alumni of either Jersey Boys or Motown.
That is so cool.
In some cases, yeah. So it's going to be a great night of entertainment at Subculture.
And then you guys are also going to be doing a silent auction as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're actually the silent auction in Las Vegas is enormous. Here, I just kept it simple, and being that we're in the Broadway area, I got all my friends in Broadway shows to go around getting signatures on posters, and I've got about 10 posters that are signed by the cast, in some cases the original cast. That are going to be up for auction for those people who want to collect them and even better, get them for a great cause.
Oh, and that is so fantastic. And it's such a wonderful community to band together and work for something so important as well.
It is. And we actually also have a live auction, which is going to be pretty awesome. Thanks to some friends, I've managed to put together not only a night stay at a JW Marriott Hotel and dinner for two at the Smith here in Midtown, but also 2 house seats for Hamilton. So that's going to be our live auction item. So if you're interested and don't want to wait the 9 months to get your tickets to Hamilton, you can actually help a great cause and possibly see it in the next month or so.
Oh, that's absolutely a fantastic opportunity. So is that if they go to the Subculture on the 8th?
Yeah, it's going to be a live auction during the concert. So one of the requirements is that you've got to be there. So that's all the more reason to buy a ticket, even if you're coming not knowing much about it and just knowing that you want to try to win that trip to Hamilton. There's your reason to come buy a ticket and help a cause that could help not only my daughter Emma, but also tens of thousands of others in this country.
That's some pretty good incentive as a reason to go.
I think so.
You really know how to rope those people in there, don't you?
I do my best.
So you've done 6 concerts so far in Las Vegas, and this will be your first one in New York. So what are going to be the differences for this show that's happening on the 8th versus the ones that you've done in Las Vegas?
Honestly, the biggest difference is that, space is a premium in New York, and it's not quite as much of a premium in Las Vegas. So in Las Vegas, I have access to a 500-seat showroom with high-tech lighting, and I essentially invite all of the headliners from the Las Vegas Strip to come and join us. And luckily, they're all incredibly generous, just like they are here in New York. So that's kind of the main difference, because here in New York, it's going to be much more intimate. We don't have access to the 1,700-seat house that they've converted to a showroom. We have access to Subculture, which is a beautiful venue. It's just much more intimate. And here, of course, the talent isn't the Las Vegas headliners. It's Broadway's biggest stars. So that's really the main difference. And in some ways, it's going to make this even more special because you're going to get a chance to see, a couple of Tony Award nominees and some incredible talent, but you're going to be within hand's reach of them as opposed to across a massive room. And I think that's going to make this a really special night on Monday.
And how much money have you guys raised through these concerts so far?
In Las Vegas, we've had a very meager start, but we have managed to raise close to $500,000 in Las Vegas alone. And now we're starting here in New York. My goal has always been to produce this many times around every year. And nothing would make me happier than to go from taking 6 years to raise $500,000 to being able to write $1 million check to a charity every year to really start making a difference in the lives of those people that need it.
So where does this money go to?
NF Network is one of 2 big national organizations that help the NF community. And the reason why I connected with NF Network in the first place is because of their sort of grassroots mentality. So their money goes to a number of different areas within NF community. The first and most important, if you ask me, is that they are a great source of information and a place to communicate and connect NF families. So one of the things I'm trying to help them raise money for is that they literally, every time somebody calls, they send out a packet of information with information about what NF is, what it's like to have a child with NF or have it yourself, a list of some of the doctors that you should become acquainted with and how to contact them. And this little packet of booklets might seem sort of innocuous, but it is such a valuable resource. And I want to make sure that they continue to be able to give that to every single person that walks in the door. And then on a much bigger scale, what they do is they're the number one organization in the country for advocating for NF research funds. So every year I join a group of advocates in Washington, D.C., and we lobby on the Hill for federal funding for NF research. And since 1996, that lobbying has resulted in $300 million in NF research. And so it's really a vital part in making sure that research money continues to come out of the federal funds and end up in the hands of researchers. So those are the two main places that money goes, and both, if you ask me, are just as valuable.
And it's 1 in every 3,000 births where this occurs.
Yeah, I mean, it's more common than muscular dystrophy, Tay-Sachs, cystic fibrosis, and I'll often forget, but all of those combined still don't add up to the number of people living with NF. And yet, just like you, I imagine, many people have never heard the word before. So that's another reason why I do this, is to make sure that we end up with enough concerts that when I ask somebody what NF is, they know.
Especially with your daughter Emma just growing up and being able to know that this is becoming important in other people's lives as well. That must be just so heartwarming and life-changing for you guys.
It is, and NF is a very variable disorder. I mean, they still haven't characterized all the mutations that cause it. And so, you could stand 10 people with NF next to one another, and they could look and be affected in a variety of ways. And that's the challenge. There is no cure and there's no treatment. So what do you do when you don't even know what symptoms you're going to have? And that's one of the reasons why the information packets and having access to the doctors is so important, so that you can do what we do with Emma, which is to monitor. She has 3 brain tumors that we have to follow. She has brain tumors in her leg that can become cancerous. And she honestly, I think we stopped counting after about 24 tumors that we know she has, but she has it easy compared to some. So yeah, this is all very important and heartwarming to know that we're helping raise awareness.
After advocating for knowledge of NF and lobbying for more funding and being a part of putting together money for research, what is the one thing that you want people to take away from all of the information that you relay about NF?
Awareness is such a big part of it, but I'm serious. When we first heard the word neurofibromatosis, we had never heard it before, despite how common it is. I think if I could choose one thing, and it might very well be something I've already named, but if I could choose one thing that I would want to come out of this, it would be that we don't ever have to explain what NF is when somebody asks. That they already know. That we have done our job so well in spreading awareness around this country that it becomes a word that people are aware of, which will translate into more support, whether it be monetary or whether it be more people marching with us on the Hill every year. And then, of course, the long-term goal, the big one, is nothing would make me happier than to be out of a job because we have found a cure for NF. I couldn't think of anything that would be more blissful than that.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Congratulations in everything that you've worked for so far, and good luck with the concert.
Thank you very much. And if people want to come, we would love to see you. You can either go onto the NF Hope website, which is nfhope.org, or you can head over to the Subculture New York website and get tickets there. But either way, that's kind of why we do this, is to get people in here so we can tell them about NF and have them spread the word. And I'm honored that you had me on to help do that.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
We'll be back with more news on the Pirate News Desk right after this short break.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just got invited to the prom. Do you A, meet her date?
I need to see your past date report cards, your driver's license, a list of references, and this hair sample.
B, help her pick out a dress?
Don't you just love the long sleeves and turtleneck on this pantsuit?
Ugh.
C, attend the prom undercover.
Mom, what are you doing here?
I'm not Mom, I'm
Calvin, the new kid at school.
Or D, capture her big moment.
Let's take a photo of you two. I'm in the middle.
When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers. But that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Pirate News Desk. President Donald Trump is one step closer to repealing Obamacare, otherwise known as the Affordable Care Act, as the House of Representatives have passed a new health care bill. To take note of some difference, the amount of people left uninsured under Trump Care is estimated to be almost double of that of Obamacare. Also, under Obamacare, all Americans must have health insurance or pay a tax penalty. Under Trump Care, those who go without health insurance for more than 63 days must pay a 30% surcharge on their insurance premiums for a year. In terms of employer mandate, companies with more than 50 employees are required to provide health insurance or pay a penalty under Obamacare, but the mandate would be repealed under Trump Care. Many heavy taxes would also be repealed for businesses or people with incomes over $250,000. Medicaid funding would also be cut starting in 2020 under the new proposal, and health benefits are not as clear. In terms of what would remain the same, both the Affordable Care Act and the Republican bill allow children to be covered by their parents' insurance policies until they are 26. Insurers would still not be allowed to set annual and lifetime limits on how much they will reimburse individuals for essential health care benefits, such as doctors, services, inpatient and outpatient hospital care, prescription drug coverage, pregnancy and childbirth, and mental health services.
All right, thank you, Tim. This is Bob Toohey reporting for the Pirate News Desk. According to NJ.com, across New Jersey, torrential rain is sparking flash flooding and property damage as the biggest storm of the spring hits the tri-state area. The National Weather Service set the flash flood warnings on May 5th until 3:30 p.m. for northern New Jersey counties and 4:45 p.m. for coastal counties. As of Friday morning, more than 2 inches of rain had fallen in some locations, with 1 to 2 more inches expected by Friday afternoon. Nearly every region in New Jersey is at least under a flood advisory. Several counties in New York are also under the flood warning. As of 3 p.m. Friday, Howell, New Jersey, had received the most rain in the tri-state area with 3.73 inches. Homedale and Jersey City each received high totals with just under 3.3 inches of rain. The Weather Service also reported trapped motorists in Kearney, New Jersey. Poor visibility and flooding on the Garden State Parkway and Jersey Turnpike led to major delays and speed limit restrictions through Friday. The storm also caused major flight delays at Newark Liberty International Airport over the course of Friday. Public transit on Friday was also affected, with path service into New York suspended from Hoboken and Journal Square, and brief closures reported at the New Jersey Transit Concourse of New York's Penn Station. Some NJ Transit buses were rerouted due to flooding as well. With heavy rain expected into today, it is probable that similar delays and flooding are to be expected.
Thank you, Bob. This is Jocelyn Rogalo reporting for the Pirate News Desk. Sunday, May 7th is the New Jersey Hall of Fame induction ceremony. This year, the New Jersey Hall of Fame will induct 15 new honorees at this year's induction ceremony at Historic Convention Hall on the Ashbury Park Boardwalk. This year's inductees include author Carol Higgins Clark and news anchor Connie Chung, businessman Alfred Cope, and founder of New York Waterway Arthur Imperatore Sr., singer, composer, actress, entertainer, and publisher Connie Francis, actress and TV personality Kelly Ripa, actor Ray Liotta, pop rock musician Tommy James, and rapper Wyclef Jean of the Fugees. Non-denominational spiritual leader and activist Pace Pilgrim, and United States Army officer Philip Kearney. Professional soccer midfielder Carly Lloyd, former president and general manager of the WNBA New York Liberty Carol Blazejowski, heavyweight boxer Chuck Wepner, and NFL Pro Bowler Rosie Greer. According to John Keegan, chairman emeritus of the NJ Hall of Fame Foundation Board, quote, "Induction into the New Jersey Hall of Fame is the highest civilian honor that our state can bestow on someone. It's a celebration of New Jersey and its greatest achievers, and a recognition of role models for our next generation. This is New Jersey's version of the Academy Awards, so attendees can expect some surprise celebrity appearances," unquote. Past New Jersey Hall of Fame inductees include Jon Stewart, Derek Jeter, Brian Williams, Bobby Brown, Whitney Houston, Michael Douglas, Tony Bennett, Queen Latifah, Martha Stewart, and victims of 9/11. We'll be right back with more news on the Pirate News Desk.
Water is all around us. No wonder it's hard to imagine we're facing a water crisis. But we are. So that's why the American Planning Association brings you simple ways to save water at home and in your community. Learn more at planning.org. That's planning.org. A public service message from this station and the American Planning Association.
Welcome back to the Pirate News Desk. According to CNN Money, there's a new phishing scam involving Google Docs. The sophisticated attack appeared to come from a trusted source asking you to open a Google document. If you clicked, it took you to a page to open the Google Docs app with your Google account. This granted access to your email account and contacts. Because the malicious app looked legit, it essentially tricked users into trusting it with their security token, which is all that was needed to access the accounts. A phishing attack is a popular method of stealing credentials and hacking into people's emails, bank accounts, and other private accounts. A hacker poses as a trusted source and sends you a malicious link. Google said it stopped the attacks in 1 hour. It's unclear how widespread the attack was, but reporters at publications, including BuzzFeed, CNN, and more, tweeted that they'd receiving the phishing email as many of their sources did as well. According to the threat intelligence from Cisco at the peak of the attack, its customer base saw around 150 messages sent per minute. The firm said that the impact to the general population was likely much larger. Google has said in a statement, quote, "We protected users from this attack through a combination of automatic and manual actions, including removing the fake pages and applications, and pushing updates through safe browsing, Gmail, and other anti-abuse systems," end quote. Google said contact information was accessed and used in the attack, but no other information was exposed. It's not clear who was behind the phishing attempts, as the attacks were spread quickly. So going through this news, I was very surprised because Google is one of those real top-notch companies out there, one of the companies you'd think would never be able to be hacked. But it does show that as big of a company as Google is, it's good to see that they did damage control in terms of these phishing attempts were only available for an hour. But it does show as well the stages that people will go through to really devise and think of something in order to steal your account without you even knowing it.
And we've talked about this before, about how there's so much of our data that is memorized by our computers when you enter in a website frequently or you enter in your username. It comes up as an automatic. So I'm not surprised that there's so many different ways to hack a computer. And we actually at Seton Hall received an email warning us about the phishing emails. And one of them was sent through a university staff member to other faculty to be like, hey, review this PDF file. And when the PDF file would open, you had to enter your security information. And so they were warning people, stay away from that email and stuff like that. It's just so interesting how fast this can go.
And not only that, it's interesting to see how in recent times, these phishing attempts have become even more sophisticated. Years ago, when it was like the classic Nigerian prince looking for your bank account scam, it was a lot easier to detect, and it was a lot more obvious to realize that these emails are scams looking to steal your data. Now it's much more difficult because these emails oftentimes look as if they were official, produced by Google, sent by a Google customer, and intended for your use. So people really need to be judicious when it comes to previewing their emails and previewing content from unfamiliar email addresses, because it can be deadly and it can lead to widespread identity theft.
And it's not just Google as well. It's all these different companies, whether
Absolutely.
it be PayPal, whether it be credit services.
Mm-hmm.
One wrong click and all your information could be gone and spread all across the internet, which is a scary, scary thought. From what I learned growing up, I always learned that when you get an email and it looks like a legitimate email, just make sure you check the link where it was actually from, because it might say something like from PayPal.com would be the normal email address, but if it says from PayPal HT whatever.com, then that's obviously a scam. Or whatever website you go to, make sure you check the link at the top to make sure it is an official link and not some link that may have had one or two letters different.
Right, you definitely have to go through and look at that URL and make sure, because it could be something as slight as instead of .com, it could be .cam. that's something that you're going to look over really quickly. Thank you, Tim. My name is Justine Strasbeck, reporting for the Pirate News Desk. Delta Airlines has issued an apology for kicking a family with 2 young children off a flight due to a seating mix-up. Video footage of a customer arguing with a flight attendant regarding a seat his infant son was in on April 23rd was recently posted to YouTube on May 3rd. The customer, Brian Scher, had originally bought the ticket for his older son, but ended up booking him an earlier flight so that his infant son could sit in a car seat instead of his mother's lap during an overnight trip. Delta argued that doing that was against federal policy, stating that whoever occupies a seat on an aircraft must be the person whose name is booked for that seat. Scher can be heard in the video arguing, quote, "He can't sleep unless he's in his car seat," end quote. The family was eventually escorted off the aircraft and flew to their destination on a later flight with a different airline. Footage of the ordeal has racked up nearly 900,000 views on YouTube since it was posted on Wednesday. The airline has since issued a statement and said, quote, "We are sorry for the unfortunate experience our customers had with Delta, and we've reached out to them to refund their travel and provide additional compensation. Delta's goal is to always work with customers in an attempt to find solutions to their travel issues. That did not happen in this case, and we apologize," end quote. This incident follows a line of recent airlines that have made headlines for disturbing travel incidents. On April 9th, a man was dragged bloodied and screaming from a United Airlines flight after he refused to give up his seat for crew members. And American Airlines is investigating an incident after footage of a mom in tears during a confrontation between her and a flight attendant on an April 21st flight surfaced on social media. I think this is very interesting that this Delta Airlines incident has been released just now, because the original date, which is April 23rd, is exactly 14 days after the United flight incident.
It's crazy when you think about how many bad things have happened on airlines within the past few weeks. It makes you wonder how many have not been given coverage or have not been reported about as well.
I mean, I think it's just interesting. Either air travel has always been this crazy, or this was just a really, really bad month for the airlines as a whole. But more than likely, these incidents just haven't been reported. You know, you see David Dow being dragged from the United flight. You see the mother crying in tears being confronted by a seemingly aggressive flight attendant. And now this past week, the father pleading with the stewardess to let them, sit on the plane. I think there are more incidents like this, and they just don't go filmed. They're not documented.
And as you said, Bob, everything now is recorded. There's always some sort of external recording device that people do have. And after seeing what happened with United, people will now start to record things that they may not have otherwise recorded because they saw that the success for Dow and the backlash that United took in that whole situation. So I think for airlines, I understand something like this is bound to happen over extended period of time just because simply of how many flights take place per day. But I think you will see more of these kinds of situations being reported in the future. I don't think this is just one bad month, as you said, for airlines. I think people now understand, if I report this could really, really hurt the bottom line of these airline companies. And it isn't moral, and it should be. It should be reported.
I almost feel like now, too, it's a trickle-down theory. Here you go from one big airline, United, and then you have the other 2 biggest airlines in the United States, Delta and then American, also showing incidents of mistreatment. So I feel like if it's these big airlines that it's finally coming out with, what about the smaller aircrafts? There's definitely have to be incidents on there because they're much cheaper flights.
This concludes this episode of the Pirate News Desk. As usual, if you would like to follow us for updates on our Twitter account, you can follow us at WSOU News, and you can listen to this episode of the Pirate News Desk again or previous episodes on our SoundCloud. And if you would like any more information about the NF Hope concert, you can visit nfhope.org. Thank you so much for listening to the Pirate News Desk, only on 89.5 FM WSOU.